Hey everyone, Ambitious Book Reader here. Today I want to talk about Collapse Feminism, the online battle for feminism future by Alice Chappell. Alice Chappell, my Southeast Asian eyes is trying here, okay? Alice Chappell is a YouTuber from France that focuses on making video essay on topics that she finds she enjoy digging deep down. I really recommend her videos on why fiction are better than self-help because one thing I'm getting more and more confidence the more I read all these books is that self-help books most of the time are just poorly written books marketed as a productive use of your time. There's a long history with self-help that had a lot of positive impact, but I've grown to despise the genre more and more in our current era, and her video on the topic goes more in depth on it and is a great breakdown on its history despite it's coming from 2 years ago. I swear it's not just because it also talks smack on The Alchemist, which I really hate. But we are currently not talking about her or her videos. We're here for her book, Collapse Feminism, which, as the title suggests, is a conversation on feminism on the internet. The conversation on feminism on the internet is an uphill battle as it is because the algorithm is built on spreading negativity. This is not a conspiracy, by the way. It's been admitted by people who work on social media companies, even by Mark Zuckerberg himself. A lot of work has covered this, including Chaos Machine, which I've covered. So go read into that if you want to know more about this. But there are actually examples that you can find even in YouTube. For example, like Charlie's channel, Moist Critical. The views are much higher when the content have some negative aspect to them, like drama, for example. These are the case with almost every post in social media. People are just more attracted to negative content, and some of them are anti-political, anti-woke, or anti-feminism, which are all obviously anti-feminism. And a lot of them will say that feminism has gone too far without actually knowing where exactly feminism is currently at. So without knowing where the line is, they somehow assume that the line has been crossed. And unfortunately for feminism in the internet, the voices of the people who blurred where the current line is at are more amplified compared to the voice of the people who actually know where those lines are. Which is a problem on top of other unsolved problems. This book is written in an attempt at deconstructing and further understanding about feminism and the problem with its communication on the internet in order to find a solution for facing this problem. The book itself is separated into two parts. The first part is basically feminism and its subculture, while the second part covers anti-feminism and their subcultures. The book starts with the idea of feminism or the ideal woman, especially through the lens of the internet. It goes into the many aesthetics of feminism and the people who defend them and how they are portrayed on the internet, which are not good since on the internet it's a label that people can just pin on anything. I mean, just put a glass and pin feminism on it somehow is a product. Which again are not good. This gives access to bad actors who deliberately portray feminism in a negative way, where they point at a few cringe characters who don't have anything to do with feminist or feminism. Here is a few examples of those feminism, but not really, that the book mentions. Anti-marriage, uber entrepreneur working woman that make a career out of saying women should not have a career, toxic girl boss syndrome, and more. Which all have elements that are actually contradictory to women's rights, but got viral at one time or another since then of course corporate catch on and used to sell product despite how not feminist a lot of these are. An easy example of this is Kendall Jenner's Pepsi ad or Gillette's Me Too ad, which anti-feminists then use as an example to label feminists in a bad light so people don't see where the real problem lies. The book also mentions how the anti-feminists who attack them keep saying that they are being silenced, but are actually less silenced than they market themselves, because they have more chronically online rapid supporters and views compared to the people who are trying to calmly explain the situation to them. Because unfortunately, rallying people on the internet, the drama gets more virality compared to education, so the one who are silenced by the algorithm is actually the right one, not the anti-feminist. And it is currently also more problematic because there are a rising number of incel and manosphere subculture from people who think only for themselves and strangely their bros, and wanted nothing more than make the world a fantasy world where they don't have to put much effort for women. This then gets support from pessimistic common sense feminism that wants to just give up on women's rights because the future is unclear and the past is glorified. The book breaks all of this down and then ends with a few ideas on how to move forward. It has some similar topic that is also an early capture by Olufemi Taiwo and even more crossover with Leila Ahmed Woman and Gender in Islam, both of which I've mentioned before previously. But the way the book is written is unfortunately also have similar problem with elite capture. in which their quote is written in ways that are not for everyone but in a slightly different way. Elite Capture use language that, let's just say, not layman terms, which immediately alienate more people who are not into academics, since in internet English what they're using is basically ancient Mesopotamia language. Collapse feminism also have some slight issue with that, but not as bad. I think the author tried their best to use more commonly used language. While there are still words that a lot of people will need Google to understand, but since the book is directed towards the internet people, I think there's a conscious effort on the author's part to not use academic words like neoliberal too often. The larger hurdle to the book is, I think, the habit of referencing names and other work, especially at earlier part. In almost every page, there are years, name, quotes, and mention of other previous works, which in video format will be slightly easier to digest. But in book form, it does make the book feel slightly like a bad decision for drinking games at the start and slow it down a little bit. For example, the author will explain one thing, then in order to explain that one thing, they'll explain this other thing written by this guy and that guy in this year and that year, which add more context into the explanation, but at the same time I can see it being more confusing because it adds more things to keep track of. I do wonder if a glossary will change how the book is written, because just like sources, a glossary can help explain not just the uncommon language that for some reason are so common in academia, but also names, events, and other title reference that can add a lot of additional context without making the meat of the book unnecessarily longer. Or better, try to explain without using all these academia tropes. The other party speaks in layman terms, and thus a lot of laymen listen to them even when they're speaking out of their ass. There should be a way to deliver this information in layman language and without having to call them layman. I have a feeling people won't like being called layman. I should really stop saying layman now. Layman. And anyway, exposition dialogue will still feel like exposition dialogue whether it is in fiction or non-fiction. But with all that said, after the initial slow start, the book does get a lot easier to read and understand after a while. There are a lot of use of viral pop culture and internet history since, as the title of the book suggests, it is after all a breakdown of feminism, mostly post-internet era, and it does make it much easier to digest. I do personally kind of wish there are more examples that are coming from offline, but that's more me problem instead of the book problem. Other than that, this book is great. It's well researched and well written with a lot of source involved. By breaking down all the feminist terms that are thrown around on the internet, the author shows how a lot of them have as little to do with women's rights in general, and how much similarity is the problem that women face with all the other human rights issues we are facing together. Whether they're issues like gender that men face, but also race, sex, and class. And as a result of this, it shows how much of this fake feminist corporate lollygagging that is used by giant corporations like Disney that people really hate and call woke propaganda are actually also a problem for feminism. But because on the internet they are all blended into one giant woke label, which only adds more trouble for all the trouble these corporates use to sell their products, it is harder to differentiate them. Like somehow media exec from Disney, Netflix, etc. who wants to make the writers go homeless have any interest in making the world a better place for women, and Kim women don't want to put in any word Kardashian actually pay attention to the issue that women face, which I'm glad the book managed to show how ridiculous it all is. The book also did well in hammering home how long and rich the history of feminism is, and how many subcultures it have that can all be another topic on their own. Though at its core it's about learning and accepting people in order to raise us all together to a higher standard, not to put other people down, to push adults to be better adults that mature instead of just existing longer. Despite some barrier of entry on knowledge that I mentioned briefly, it's still a great learning material for those who are open to learn more on the topic. This is a really great educational book to relearn on where feminism is currently at as a movement and the ongoing issue it still faces, especially if your understanding of feminism is internet feminism, which are mostly defined by everybody who are not feminists. I give this a 4.25. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.